The chairman of the 16th Finance Commission, Dr. Arvind Panagaria, today addressed a press briefing following meetings with the Meghalaya government, representatives of trade and industry, rural local bodies, urban local bodies, and political parties. Speaking to press persons, the chairman informed that Meghalaya has become the 8th state to request an increase in vertical devolution from the divisible pool, urging that the current 41% be raised to 50%. The chairman acknowledged the state's request, however noted that traditionally the Finance Commission does not make drastic changes. The chairman also highlighted the state's request for over Rs 1.2 lakh crore in grants and aid, explaining that such grants are issued from the Consolidated Fund of India and are subject to the central government's discretion.
Subject for the Finance Commission, of course, is the devolution, and on that the state's pitch was that the vertical devolution to the states from the divisible pool increased from the current 41% to 50%. This is, of course, a figure we have been hearing in state after state. There is somehow across states seems to be some consensus that this devolution ought to rise from 41 to 50%. Normally, of course, finance commissions don't really change the shares that dramatically. But in any case, for us, it's an early stage of work, and so we don't know where that is going to go. On horizontal devolution, where the mandate is how the state share is to be divided among the 28 states of India. The state had some very specific suggestions, and in particular, the state pitched for a larger proportion of the state's share to be devolved based on forest. 15th Finance Commission had given a weight of 10% to forest and ecology. Meghalaya's proposals for the 16th are that we raise that from 10 to 15%. They also suggested introducing a new criterion called the rural dispersion of the population, to which they said 2.5 to 5% weight be given. So if one were to do that, then this would be a new criterion, because rural dispersion has not been a criterion in the past for any finance commission. Then there was also a suggestion that the quality of expenditure be given some consideration. For that, they suggested a 2.5% weight on that. That was the main deviation they suggested. Income distance, they said, keep at 45%, which is what it was under the 15th Finance Commission. So that is where the broad picture is. Then there was some discussion on the local bodies as well as the disaster relief and disaster management. That was our discussion. Then the Commission spoke back and responded as well as asked for some more additional information. To which again the Chief Minister himself gave a number of replies. So that is overall where our discussions were. The Commission itself currently is very much in a stage of consultation with the states and other stakeholders, but states consultation with the states is the major activity of the Commission right now. Meghalaya was our 8th state to visit. We have visited 7 others. So, last one we visited was Assam in the neighborhood. So we have done about quarter of the total 28 states. So it's still early in the game. We have to listen to all the states. So we have gone to states in the north and west. We have gone to states in northeast. We have gone to states in the south. And naturally, these states have very different geography, demography, and needs. And so therefore, we have naturally heard very different viewpoints regarding particularly the horizontal devolution of the divisible pool or horizontal devolution of the state's share, which are separate. The grants in aid come from the consolidated fund of the central government. So those are tricky, because currently, after the 14th Finance Commission, the devolution out of the central tax revenues is extremely large. So the central government, in a way, exercises its discretion whether it's from out of its own consolidated fund of India, whether it's going to further give grants according to the recommendations of the Finance Commission or not. So in any case, there's a very large set of proposals given by the Meghalaya government. Altogether, 1 lakh something, right? 1 lakh crore, 1.2 lakh crore rupees worth of grants in aid request over the 5-year period have been made by the Meghalaya government. Southern states in particular had a very different view on this. So at this point, we have no decisions with respect to where the commission is ultimately going to come out. That is something that we will deal with much later, after we have consulted with all the other states. So we can that's the overall view now. So naturally, the Meghalaya depends very heavily on central transfers, which are coming both from the Finance Commission, but also from the center. Non-FC transfers are also quite large. If you look at it, the debt to GDP ratio is rather high, and so also the fiscal deficit is high. Now, part of it is explained away by the fact that the state has been making good use of the long-term capital grants. That it's being given as a loan, 50-year loan, which obviously has an incredible, and it's an interest-free loan for 50 years. So it's almost like a grant, but it's not quite a grant, and therefore it has to be actually taken into the debt to GDP ratio. It goes in there. So it gets a little bit overstated because of that, but still, I think I would say it is a bit on the high side, but we can take the views of our members here if they would want to bear on this particular issue for the increase from 41% to 50%, the vertical devolution. Normally, the commissions in the past have never taken a very large jump. 41 to 50 is an incredibly large jump. There are only 2 examples. The 7th Commission had done that, and then the 14th had done that. But general philosophy that the commissions have followed is that you should not disturb the status quo by excessively large amount, because that then disturbs the budgets of everybody. Even those who benefit can't absorb it fast enough, but those who lose on account of such a large, meaning it's a central government, for the central government, then it creates a very large imbalance very suddenly. And that leads the central government to, of course, react and respond. And to the 14th, the way the central government then responded was, over time, the share of cesses and surcharges, which do not go into the divisible pool, expended. Also, the CSS, the centrally sponsored schemes, expenditures on CSS as a proportion of the gross tax revenue declined over time. So it leads to unintended consequences, and so generally finance commissions have gone, particularly with respect to the vertical devolution, moved only slowly. They changed the status quo only a little bit, incrementally. And same also goes for horizontal. Generally, horizontal devolution also, changes do happen, but they are generally incremental. Very rarely these changes become step jumps. A fantastic presentation on Meghalaya, to which I'll come. But a very unique feature of this presentation was that your Chief Minister, being who he is, he made lots of interventions during the presentation. So he was very, very engaged. One could see the passion and engagement that he has with the state's development. We are all very impressed with what we saw. The presentation itself was very extensive. It covered numerous programs relating to the demography, geography. The things that they presented was had to do with the how the state has very dramatically brought down the maternal mortality rate. There is a program under which apparently the state has the record of every single pregnant woman in the state, and then they follow. And then they have that data by first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, birth, whatnot. So very, very impressive. Likewise, the program on early childhood development, where unlike other states where in the sports etc. the kids get picked up at a later age of 15 or 16, here Meghalaya is doing this at much earlier age. So number of these things, issues related to water supply, hotels, colleges being built, skill and entrepreneurship, overseas placements, nurses in, even the program under which the state is now training nurses who then get employed in places like Japan. So it was a very extensive presentation. It eventually also naturally went into the issues of finances, which is what the Finance Commission is more directly interested in. So we also got a bit of details on what the financial condition of the state is, what the debt to GDP ratio is, why the debt to GDP ratio is a bit on the high side, what have been the fiscal deficits, and again, why fiscal deficits have been on the high side. Then finally, the presentation came to the another very important aspect of the presentation was a discussion of the Mission 10, under which the state has a very ambitious plan, both of programs that it wants to undertake and the commitments it has to the people of Meghalaya, and the state is targeting to take the GDP to $10 billion by 2028, which would bring its per capita income to close to about $3,000, which is quite good.